Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith. Welcome to my show. I'm glad to be here this morning. About a minute late, and was having trouble getting into my studio to get on here to do the show this morning. But I made it just a couple minutes late, and thanks everybody for being here. And hopefully it's streaming properly and everything. Hoping you're having a good morning so far. I just woke up having some coffee, and we'll just get right into this. Pick up where we left off yesterday, and. All right. Things are going good. It's Friday. It is August the 5th, and it's 6:30 here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, and I'm glad to be doing these shows again. I like doing this. I always enjoyed doing these shows, and I'm glad to be back, and it's been 1 week so far, and I managed to make it to all my shows, so that's a good thing. And so we're going to look at a morning reflection. How are we doing on our healing journey? Any particular things we need to work on, how we're feeling. And morning reflection, I feel pretty good this morning. I just I had trouble getting to my show here, so I spent the last 15 minutes trying to get in there. And so I haven't really had a chance to sit down and just relax for a minute. But feeling pretty good this morning. It's about the same as yesterday, hopeful. Feeling pretty at peace right now with my healing journey. Made a lot of progress and over the years, like I said, and still things I want to work on. I did find some information on breathing work finally, and that I'm going to start on the weekend. So I'll be able to sort of share what I found out there that seems to be helpful for me, and you might be able to see if it's helpful for you. And so safety checklist, we should always make sure we're safe enough to be listening to things like this. If you're a survivor of abuse and, things can trigger you, so you need to make sure that you're in a safe enough place to be able to listen to something like this without it triggering you, right? And so do a safety checklist and see how you're feeling this morning. Are you safe enough to listen to this type of information, anything about abuse or your own, that might trigger your own abuse, right? So you want to make sure that you're safe enough to be listening to what I'm talking about. And we'll move right into this. The Havoka has that one site, has victim to survivor to thriver. And we're looking at the third one, which is, the first one was doesn't deserve nice things or trying for the good life. That's the victim. A survivor struggling for reasons and chance to heal. And the thriver says has gratitude for everything in life. So we looked at that. The next one was low self-esteem, shame, unworthy. That's the victim. Feeling that way. A survivor sees self as wounded and healing. That's me right about now. And more moving towards a thriver, really, but still in the survivor. Thriver sees self as an overflowing miracle. Now, we looked at yesterday. And the next one up is hypervigilant. That's the victim, hypervigilant. The survivor is using tools to learn to relax. And the thriver has gratitude for this new life. And I'd say that's pretty good. I like that, hypervigilant for the victim. I still have some hypervigilant stuff going on. I sort of tend to be a little hypervigilant in everything I do. I'm sure it's abuse-related. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. Just growing up in a very dysfunctional, abusive environment my whole entire life. So I've learned a lot of really bad ways of coping, dealing with things. But some of them I probably do just to cope. And so... or as a means of coping. So I'm having to go back and evaluate a lot of the things that I do and see, are they abuse-related, or is it just, a personality, something that I like to do because of my personality. Using tools to learn to relax, that's something that I need to work on, and that's why I wanted to work on the breathing, the proper breathing, because a friend of mine told me years ago, she says, you just don't breathe, And it's very true, I really don't, and it's a lot, and it is from the abuse that I suffered, and not just the physical abuse, but, the whole entire abuse that I suffered from both of my parents in this environment and my brother. So I'm trying to learn, to pay more attention to my breathing, and I smoke, so I'm sort of doing myself a huge disfavor, I've been smoking since I was really young, like 12 years old. Not cigarettes, but just smoking something. So I just started smoking cigarettes when I was 19, but I really smoke a lot. And I've always smoked a lot. So, and I use that. I know that's a crutch. That's definitely an addiction issue because of my mental health issues because of the abuse. I've never been diagnosed with anything because I've never had a diagnosis. But my parents were both mentally ill. They were brought up on abuse charges, and they both had mental problems as well as some psychological problems and emotional problems, all types of problems. And they pass that on to their children, you know. So I'm sure that the addiction is very much a part of that. And all of my siblings had addiction problems. There was a couple of them that seemed to be able to manage without addictions. But out of 7 children, there was only like 2, I think, that actually do better with addiction than the rest of us. So I'm trying to learn, trying to look at all these things and learn, first of all, learn what it is and how I can help myself and what I can do to get help for myself. And using tools to learn to relax is one of them. So that's why I'm looking for this breathing information. But if I quit smoking or cut down anyway, that would certainly help, right? So I've got work to do. There's gratitude for new life. Gratitude for new life, absolutely. I'm grateful to be here on this side of this whole entire situation of from coming from abuse and, sitting on this side of it. That's why I like to be an encouragement for other people, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that where, more victim than anything else or just complete absolute victim and not thinking that there's any hope or any help out there. I've been there. And I didn't stay there because I chose not to stay there, I'm sure of it. I didn't want to stay there. It was a horrible situation. I wasn't coping well. I was in continual suicidal ideation, and my entire life really until I hit the age of 41 when I had to make the decision that I was either going to stay like that for the rest of my life and possibly end my life, or I was going to get help and stop that nonsense and not allow the abuse to destroy me. And it was a definite conscious decision I had to make. Am I going to stay like this forever, wounded and, struggling and suffering, from this abuse that I suffered so long ago? Or am I going to get help, right? And I decided to get help instead of stay like that because, I'm used to being in that situation of feeling those feelings because I felt I did for so long, and, that's just my life. But I didn't want to stay there because I knew how destructive it was and how I was missing out on my adult life by allowing myself to stay in that pit of despair. And so I have gratitude for this new life that I've gotten. And I still have bad days, like I said. I mean, I think, don't we all? I mean, even people that are not abused or were not abused or have never been abused like we have, they have bad days too, right? But we can appreciate the good days. And that's what I try to do. I try to be in the appreciation mode all the time. And I don't have, like this one part of this says, gratitude for everything in life. I'm not grateful for the hurtful stuff. I'm not grateful for people hurting me. I'm really not. I don't have any gratitude for that at all. But I have appreciation for the good days. I appreciate the good people in my life. I have good friends. I've got good support. I appreciate the good stuff, right? And I do try to remember every day to be grateful for the good things in my life. And for the fact that I managed to survive this and didn't take my own life. I'm very grateful that I made the right decision, stuck it out, and I'm just, I do have a lot of gratitude actually for that. So I'm sort of moving towards the thriver end, but I'm still in a little bit of survivor mode. And the breathing work I found really interesting. I'll share that link with you. That I found, if I can grab it over here. There's a bunch of information, obviously, if you look around for breathing and especially meditation together, breathing and meditation. The help guide has a really interesting section because it's just simple and it makes sense to me. It's just sort of explaining, the relaxation techniques for stress relief, which has a lot to do with breathing, right? And they go on to talk about this, and this is www.helpguide.org. And if you go in their articles section, go to the stress section. You can look under topics A to Z, but you can look for the stress section, and then look for relaxation techniques for stress relief. And there's a whole lot of great information here about this. And what they're saying about, as far as like this has to do a lot with breathing, that's why I want to bring this up. This is when the relaxation response, bringing your nervous system back into balance. When stress overwhelms your nervous system, your body is flooded with chemicals that prepare you for fight or flight, quote unquote. While the stress response can be life-saving in emergency situations where you need to act quickly, it wears your body down when constantly activated by the stresses of everyday life. And they said no one can avoid all stress, but you can counteract it by learning how to produce the relaxation response, a state of deep rest that is the polar opposite of the stress response. So the relaxation response puts the brakes on stress and brings your body and mind back into a state of equilibrium. And so That's interesting, and that's helpful for somebody like me because I lived my whole entire life as a child and all the way up until I was in my teens in a fight or flight situation, with the adrenaline flowing all the time because of the abuse in the home, and the abuse directed at me, and just even the abuse in the home, even if it wasn't being directed at me. Um, it definitely had I was always in a fight or flight situation as far as my nervous system went, and it was hard to actually let that go, even though I did actually. I'm pretty sure that's probably why I was using a lot of sort of like drugs. I was smoking a lot of marijuana at the time because it was helping me to relax. But in the meantime, that was kind of not a good, healthy way of doing things. So, as an adult, I've had to learn. I'm actually pretty relaxed most of the time, but I can find myself getting back into this sort of, you know, anybody can, anything going on in our life that's stressful. Maybe everybody has stressful things in their life at certain times and certain points. And so we can learn how to relax, right? And that's what I'm kind of working on. I want to learn, I want to do breathing exercises. I want to try to take care of myself physically as well as emotionally and spiritually, right? So they said when the relaxation response is activated, your heart rate decreases, breathing becomes slower and deeper, blood pressure drops or stabilizes, says your muscles relax and your body begins to heal. So they said in addition to its calming physical effects, the relaxation response also increases energy and focus, combats illness, relieves aches and pains, heightens problem-solving abilities, and boosts motivation and productivity. And best of all, anyone can reap these benefits with regular practice. So this is good, and we're going to look at this. So we'll just continue. I'm going to be reading this over the weekend and actually start getting into some breathing exercises and meditation. And I will let you know how that goes next week. And so I just think that's very interesting and worth taking a look at. So what else do we want to look at here this morning? We were looking at flashbacks yesterday with Havoka. That's helping adult victims of child abuse. Havoka. And they have interesting information on their website about flashbacks. And we were talking about that yesterday, I was telling you that I did have recently actually more flashbacks than usual just because I've been building my website. And I'm just I'm just putting it out there. It's graphic. And I have, because I'm doing what I'm doing and the writing that I'm doing for it, had to look at a lot of the painful memories again, and so it's brought back the flashbacks, and especially some of the very severe flashbacks that I used to have, that used to actually be quite obtrusive at work and stuff. But now they're not as bad as they used to be, but I still have them. So they're saying, tell yourself that you're having a flashback. Remind yourself that, you're just having this flashback, right? And get grounded. And we can ground in many different ways. Lots of people have different ways of getting grounded. Breathe. When we get frightened, we stop normal breathing, they said. As a result, our body begins to panic because we haven't got enough oxygen, right? Breathing, it's just such a huge, important thing. A lot of people, maybe, not most, but maybe a lot of people don't realize how important breathing actually really is. And reestablish to the present, begin to use our 5 sentences to make sure that to reestablish ourselves in the present, and we're not in the past, and we're not being abused right now, and that's a flashback, right? And we can talk to our inner children, right? Tell them that we're okay, and ask them if they need anything, and let them know that we're there to take care of them, and that it's okay, that they're safe, and that they're safe to experience the feelings, and then let go of the past, right? So they go on to talk about this. This is Havoke, and that's a good website. There's all kinds of information there. It says find your boundaries. And sometimes they said you can just wrap yourself in a blanket, holding a pillow, or like a stuffy, like a soft toy, or anything that you can do to make yourself feel safe, right? Whatever we like to do that makes us feel safe. Right? Get help, right? That's the main thing, I think. Reach out to people if we're having trouble, and we're having we can't cope, too much trauma from the abuse, and it just starts to hit us. I know at one point that's what happened to me at the age of 41, and I really should have. I'm glad that eventually I did reach out, but I should have made a call to a crisis line that night is what I should have done, and talk to somebody, right? But no, I just deal with it on my own because that's what's wrong. That's the issue with abuse, right? It isolates people. And because I was abused and we never got any help in our home, even though we had a CPA, like Child Protection Services were involved because my parents were busted on child abuse charges. We were told after after they signed off the case and the abuse started again, that there was going to be no help, and we were brought up that way. There's no help, and you will never get any help. No one's going to help you. They're going to hurt you. So we were psychologically traumatized as well as physically traumatized. It's just horrific. And so I just, I don't trust people. I don't trust anybody. So I'm still working on that. As I'm actually going to look at information about trust. I need to go and do some work with my inner children. And it's because me as an adult, I've learned that I can trust people. I can trust some people. Can't trust everybody. We all know this. And we have to have boundaries set. We have to know what we're going to allow someone to do to us and what we're not going to allow. How we're going to allow people to treat us. How we're not going to allow people to treat us. I did a whole huge bunch of work on boundary stuff. And I've got my boundaries set. They're very clear, defined boundaries on what I will accept in my life and what I won't. But it also means that I have to behave the same way towards other people too. So I like to be open, and I want people to trust me, and so to try to trust me. So I need to try to trust them. But my inner children trust no one. They really don't. They were so messed up from the abuse. They actually don't trust anyone. And so, they're always in the background telling me, I can't trust anybody, And I'm sure that's why I didn't reach out and get help, is because of the way that I was brought up, right? It was horrible. So I know so many times, this is what abuse does to people, right? And so many times that's why abuse survivors of any type of abuse won't reach out and get help. It's a huge trust issue, right? They said take time to regain control. Sometimes flashbacks are powerful. Don't expect yourself to be able to do adult things immediately. Be kind. Look after yourself. Do something that you enjoy. Don't punish yourself. You and your inner child. You and yourself. You don't deserve that, right? And so we'll just move on from there. So there's lots of information about a lot of these different things on these websites. Havoka is one of them, and Michael C. Irving, I really like his website. He's got some good information there. So we'll take a look at that as well. And what else we want to look at here? As far as positive reinforcement goes, what am I doing right in my daily walk? Looking at the positives, progress instead of negative thoughts. I'm not going to run myself down if I didn't get something done. I don't want to be too hard on myself. I've only got so much time to work with during the day. I really only have a few hours to do certain things, right? Because I'm just like everybody else. We're busy, right? But I thought, what can I what have I done that's actually working, and I can look at the positives instead of the progress. I'm doing good because I actually found some breathing work information, which I'm going to start doing this weekend, and that's going to be helpful. And I might start some meditation, which I was working on a few years ago, and actually just sort of put it off to the side as I did with everything else. So I'm going to get back into that, and I'll be happy to get started on that again. And so that's a positive, moving in the right direction here. As far as affirmations, positive affirmations today, we looked at I'm a good person, I'm made in God's image or my Creator's image, I'm intelligent. That was yesterday. I'm intelligent. And I believe that. I really do. I'm not the most intelligent person on the planet, that's for sure. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I'm not stupid, not like my parents told me. They didn't just tell me I was stupid, they beat that into me. And both of them did. And my siblings actually reinforced it because they wanted to stay on my parents' side. We all sort of tried to do that to avoid beatings and avoid abuse, right? But they really, because I was the youngest, they really dumped on me, and they continued to dump on me, and they still do today. And that's why I cut them off. I have 2 remaining siblings, and they're out of my life completely because they could not do anything but continue on the role of dumping on me. And I wouldn't say dumping, I just say that, but that's hurting me and being abusive towards me, emotionally, psychologically. They couldn't beat me up. What are they going to beat me up, we're all adults here. I could just put a peace bond on them. But the issue is they hurt me where they can. And I just thought, a few years back, I thought, I don't need that, nobody does. And if you're not on your healing journey and you still want to stay in your own psychotic, abusive behavior, well, that's your problem. I'm moving on, and I'm going to get help, and I'm healing, and I'm moving towards healing, and I don't need any more garbage from you. So I cut them all off, and I'm happy that I did because they're toxic. And it's sad because I miss especially my sister, but there's really, unless she was going to change the way she would treat me, she can't be in my life. And that's what I told her. I said, I'm not tolerating that from anybody anymore. I'm not tolerating people running me down and hurting me and then just thinking that I should just take it. See, that's what my mother did. Abused me horrifically. psychologically, that's the real damage done, but physically as well. And I was just made to lay there and take it. I was not allowed to say anything. I was not allowed to cry, and I was just supposed to just take it because I deserved it, right? But that's how my siblings treat me as well. And it's like, so they're gone. So today I will put all negativity behind me. That's the new affirmation I want to look at. Today I will put all negativity behind me. I'm going to really try. I mean, I don't know if that's possible because, you know, I mean, there is always going to be some negativity in every day, something that comes up. But I think as far as focusing on the negative, if I wanted to say, okay, I'm gonna focus more on the positive than the negative, and I'm going to try to remain in a positive frame of mind, you know, instead of being negative, that I can do. So today, you know, I'll put all negativity behind me. So that's one that we can look at there. And as well as self-care, you know, what am I doing both, you know, like physically, spiritually, emotionally to care for myself? You know, what are we doing to physically care for ourselves, right? Now I'm working, obviously, I'm trying to get healthier, so I need to work on quitting smoking, which is a huge addiction for me. I need to get to the root of the addiction problem, which is the abuse, and I probably should have some help doing it. I seriously don't think I'll be able to do it on my own. So I'm going to look into that. And physically, just taking care of my body, you know, being good to my body. That's what I'm trying to do. And spiritually, emotionally, you know, what am I doing to help myself out, to care for myself on a daily basis? You know, these are things that are really important. We get busy in our life and we forget to do things, right? That's why I'm doing this show, because I really needed a reminder, a daily reminder that I need to do these things, because I didn't grow up that way. I grew up in a very dysfunctional, horrific situation where my body was not being taken care of, and I was not shown how to take care of it. It wasn't being taken care of. And so I need to, as an adult, now come along as an adult and get the information that I missed out on and do these things for myself. So Irving Studios Self-Care Affirmations, we looked at the affirmations already. We're looking at Soothing Deeds now. They have a section where it's called Soothing Deeds, and that's irvingstudios.com. And I think you can go, if you just type into your browser Irving Studios or Child Abuse Survivor Monument, it'll come up. And they have Soothing Deeds here under the Self-Care tab. And they suggest that we can get into cozy, comfortable clothing, or we can get dressed up. We can treat our body as you would a child who's been hurt. We can be good to ourselves, you know. I did that a little bit with some of my inner children. Went in and at the place because I had to rescue them from the places where the abuse took place. And I mean, I did a little bit of work, especially with with the child sexual abuse. I haven't done a lot of that, and I need to go back and do that. So we could cook something nice for ourselves. We could do things that soothing deeds that we know that we like to do. You know, rest in a hot bath, bake bread, take an oil or bubble bath, light a candle or your fireplace. But if these things trigger you, then don't do them. Obviously, like a lot of these would trigger me, bathtubs and things like that. I don't like bathtubs. I mean, I still have to have a shower, but I avoid bathtubs and things like this, and also because my hip is out of place and I can't sit in the bathtub anyway. Bathtubs for me is not a good idea. I don't do well in the bathroom, period. So bathroom type things to relax me is not something, you know, that I would find relaxing. But somebody else might, you know. Lighting a candle, that's one that does relax me. I like to light candles and put them around the room. We can use like I was talking about yesterday, just put lotion on. I got to remember to do these things. Take care of my body and my skin, right? Putting lotion on. Go for a massage, like a professional massage. That's something that I guess I might consider doing, you know, at some point. I really don't trust people touching me, but that's another issue for so many people. You know, I don't really want somebody touching me. I have a problem with people touching me, so I don't know if that wouldn't so much work. But I can meditate and do soothing, you know, like breathing work and all of this, and that's what I thought would be very helpful for myself. So that's what I'm working on. There's a Havoka Survivor's Bill of Rights, and we looked at that we have the personal authority. We have the right to manage our life according to our own values and judgment, to direct our recovery, answerable to no one for our goals, effort, or progress. Now, this one today we're looking at is to gather information to make intelligent decisions about our recovery. It's very important to know what's going on with ourselves. We need to be the first ones that do know what's going on with ourselves, and we need to be the first ones to then look into the information and make intelligent decisions about our recovery. It's very important to be 100% in charge of your own recovery, because it is our own personal situation. We have to be in charge of it. Nobody else really is. I mean, how can somebody really help us unless we know what we need? You know, many times That's the issue. If we don't know what we need, people can't really help you out if you don't know what you need. So I've been diligent about looking into information about what I'm going through as a survivor of abuse, and I'm still working on it. Like I said, that's why I'm doing these shows. But it's important to get the information to make it and we have the right to do this. Some people would say, that we don't have the right to do this, and because we're coming from abuse, we were abuse situations, where you don't have a right to your own body. Many times your life might be been threatened. Just the right to daily living necessities. So many times abuse survivors didn't get what they needed, and just barely made it through. Actually, mostly that's what it's all about, because that's what abuse is. It destroys, right? So then, abuse survivors of abuse, don't feel they have the right to their own body or the right to make their own choices and the right. So that's why these survivors' bills of rights are very important, and you need to realize that you do have rights. And I have a right to a good life. I have the right to be treated with dignity, with respect, with care. I then need to treat other people like that, but I do have the same rights as everybody else: the right to life and the right to a good life. And so we have the right to gather information to make intelligent decisions about our recovery. I like that. And the personal bill of rights. That one, we're looking at number 4. I have a right to follow my own values and standards. We've sort of looked at some of these on another one, but they're sort of similar. But yeah, I have the right to follow my own values and standards. That's exactly right. And I set pretty high standards for myself in some areas. In some areas, I don't set them high enough. So I'm sort of working on that. But I need to be. It's a journey, right? And yeah, like I say, we only have about a minute left here on the show because I had trouble getting into my show page. But if you're having trouble coping, I would say reach out and get some help. Even if you don't trust people, get anonymous help. That's what I did. I went on anonymous websites. There was anonymous support groups, and I think anonymous support groups are awesome. You don't have to give your real name, and you can just join up, and nobody knows who you are, and you can get some help, right? Or call a crisis line. If you're having trouble, do something, and you get some help if you're really struggling and you're having a hard time. So thanks, everybody, for being here, and I appreciate you tuning into my shows. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to be doing some Survivor Weekend videos, I'm going to try to upload them on Vimeo or someplace, but I'll be putting them on my website, my Born in Hell website, under Survivor Weekend check-in videos. And I'll be doing those on the weekend to sort of go back and look at all the information I look at during the week, and then just do a quick check-in. And just a quick video, probably about 15 minutes. And so I wish you a wonderful day, and take good care until we talk to you next week. I will be on Saturday night doing a child abuse prevention show. I like doing those as well. And otherwise, we shall see you next week. And I wish you a wonderful, beautiful day and a beautiful weekend. Take good care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Be good and kind to yourself. And have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.